After chasing Gabriel for 10 years, I suddenly gave up. Turns out, a decade of infatuation really can end in just one night. Last night, for no reason, Gabriel deleted me from his friend list, and just like fate wanted to mock me. It happened during a thunderstorm, curled up under my blanket, knees to my chest. I tried to add him back, again and again, typing over and over, "I'm scared, please, don't leave me." From desperate to numb, I kept trying the entire night. Then, just as the rain stopped and the sky began to lighten, so did my heart, and I no longer loved him. Chapter 1. At exactly 8 a.m., Gabriel accepted my friend request. Right when his workday started, he was always obsessed with punctuality. Even the handful of dates we'd had, he'd always shown up right on the dot. There was a time I found that kind of discipline intoxicating. Heavy curtains blocked the morning light. When my phone screen lit up, the brightness stung my sleepless eyes, tears welled up. Not from sadness, just a reflex. Sticky and uncomfortable. A message from Gabriel, just a few short words. "Learned your lesson yet?" The old me would have demanded an explanation, but right now, I just wanted sleep. I slid the chat window left, delete. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel like replying to him. Then I messaged Alice. "Come over tonight. Let's go dancing. Didn't sleep last night. Going to crash now. Don't wake me. Oh, and tell your brother I'm not going to work. Actually, scratch that. Just quit for me. Alice." Gabriel's full-blooded younger sister. Also happened to be my best friend since childhood. She never liked her brother much, and could never understand why someone like me, so wild and unrestrained, would act like a clawless kitten in front of him. But really, it wasn't hard to understand. 10 years ago, a teenage boy kicked open a door and pulled me out of a dark room into the sun. From that moment, I worshipped him like a god. But now that I think about it, he never really did anything wrong. He just never loved me. And now, I don't love him anymore. Chapter 2. After sending that message, I turned off my phone, buried my head under the covers, and slept like the dead. I only woke up in the afternoon, to the sound of the doorbell. Still half asleep, I thought it was Alice, shuffling in my slippers. I opened the door, and found myself face to face with Gabriel, in a perfectly pressed suit. He stood against the light, brows furrowed, posture straight. For a second, it felt like that summer 10 years ago was overlapping with now. Even the first words out of his mouth, "Look at the state of you," were exactly the same. I glanced down at my wrinkled pajamas, rubbed my messy hair. Yeah, not exactly glamorous, but so what? I don't love him anymore. Why would I care how I look in front of him? I leaned lazily against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Why are you here?" I yawned loudly. Gabriel, with his neat freak tendencies, probably couldn't stand how I looked right now. He turned his head sharply away. "Why didn't you go to work? And your phone's off." His voice was hoarse, edged with frustration. I raised a brow and replied, unbothered. "Didn't feel like it. The job you begged for, now you suddenly don't want it? Emma, you're being unreasonable." Unreasonable? Sure, I've always been that way. I just used to hide it for him. I gave a lopsided smile and said with mock cheer, "Did President Zhao just meet me today? Wasn't I always the good-for-nothing little rich girl who couldn't do anything right?" Chapter 3. The fight with Gabriel didn't end well. Back in my room, sleep completely abandoned me. I lay there staring at the ceiling, mind replaying everything that had happened between us over the years. At 15, I followed behind him. He glared at me coldly and snapped, "Can you stop following me?" At 16, I spent half a month learning how to bake a cake, wrapped it up nicely and gave it to him. He glanced at it once, then tossed it straight into the trash. "I don't like sweets," he said. At 17, some classmates joked that I was like Gabriel's little pet. Just as we were walking past them, I wanted to confront them, furious. But he stopped me. "Not worth it," he said. At 18, he barely spoke to me anymore, no matter how many times I confessed. He always acted the same, never accepting, never rejecting, like he was fishing. The doorbell rang again. This time, it was Alice. She wore a striking red dress. Full makeup. Looked like a sultry seductress. As soon as she came in, she kicked off her heels, leaned in, and touched my forehead, murmured, no fever. I brushed her hand away and walked into the dressing room, picked a short black backless dress, got dressed, sat down at the vanity, and started doing my makeup. Alice followed behind, chattering away. What happened between you and my brother? I saw him at the office today, looked like he ate a pile of shit. Did you guys fight? That's not like you. Don't you usually treat his words like holy scripture? I just don't like him anymore. I cut her off, handed her the curling iron. Make me look like pure trouble, big waves. Please. 4 years. I dressed the way Gabriel liked. Straight black hair, delicate white dresses, all sweet and soft. Alice used to tease me all the time. You dress like some innocent girl from a Jane Austen novel. Doesn't it bother you when you get into bar fights? Truth was, it was inconvenient. I was a rebel, pretending to be a good girl. No sooner had I spoken than Alice, too stunned, dropped the curling iron. Holy shit, are you finally free? I seriously thought my brother had you under some kind of spell. I ignored her, kept lining my eyes, and flicked the wing upward at the end for a seductive curl. When I finally finished, I looked in the mirror, adjusted a few strokes, then turned to her with a smile. I can't simp anymore. Gabriel didn't cast a spell on me. What he did was colder, emotional manipulation. No matter what I did, he always made me feel like I was never good enough. You don't need to think. Just listen. That's what he told me. He made sure I knew. Only good girls get attention. Only obedient girls get scraps of love. Back then, I was desperate for his affection, so I did everything he wanted. But now, I'm done playing his game. Chapter 4. Back then, after a fight with old man son, I'd always drag Alice to a bar to vent. We'd lose ourselves in the beat. Dancing, drinking, screaming, and no one would judge. Not for crying, not for laughing too hard. We had our system, always covering for each other. So Gabriel never found out, until one night. I cracked a bottle over some perv's head for harassing a girl. It wasn't a big deal. Son family had money, but someone snitched, and it got to Gabriel. He didn't talk to me for a month. After that, I never went back to a bar. Pathetic. Huh? Yeah, that was the old me. Tonight, Alice and I drove back to our old spot. Stepping in, the music, the lights, the chaos, it all felt like another lifetime. In C City, the upper class wasn't overflowing, but Sun and Zhao families? Definitely top tier. Coincidentally, both families had a wild, pretty, spoiled daughter. That was me and Alice. We picked a booth with a nice view. No sooner had we sat down than a young guy in uniform approached, offering the menu tablet with both hands. Alice raised an eyebrow. Damn, since when are bar waiters this cute? I looked up too. A pretty boy, clean features, but still baby-faced. A little baby fat left. I smiled. You know child labor is illegal, right? The guy flushed instantly. His ears turned pink. I'm legal. Okay. Cute. Too easy to tease. Adorably harmless. Chapter 5. Should have checked the zodiac before heading out. 20 minutes later, Gabriel, who never set foot in bars or clubs, walked into the bar. The bar owner was escorting him personally. Behind him were 2 bodyguards in full black. 10 minutes after that, the bar was cleared out. Under her brother's sharp gaze, Alice shrank behind me and successfully redirected that burning stare onto me. Gabriel's face, always striking, looked especially dark under the flickering lights. Before today, if I saw Gabriel like this, I would have immediately lowered my head, made myself small, tried to please him, desperately. But now, even just thinking about the ways I used to humiliate myself to cater to him, I felt like a total idiot. I brushed back my tousled curls from my face, grabbed Alice's hand and tried to leave. As we passed Gabriel, he grabbed my arm. Emma, he said it slowly, deeply. clearly grinding his teeth to hold back fury. I took a deep breath, pasted on a perfect, polite smile, turned to look at him and said, "President Zhao, how can I help you?" Gabriel might not be used to the sudden shift in my attitude towards him. His brows were furrowed tightly, creating a deep wrinkle between them. "What's wrong with you?" he snapped back. I rolled my eyes, didn't bother to answer, shook off his hand and walked out, dragging Alice with me, without even a glance back. Chapter 6. After that, I didn't feel like partying anymore. Called a designated driver and had them drop Alice off at her mom's, and me back to my bed. Don't ask why it's not each to their own and each to their mom. I don't have one. 10 years ago, on a stormy night, my mother jumped from a building right in front of me. No hesitation. I'd wanted to follow her, but sun pulled me back at the last second. Lightning split the sky. I lay at the window she jumped from, and saw her blood trailing on the ground. Since then, I've been terrified of thunderstorms. I'd planned to sleep until I naturally woke up, but early next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. I grabbed it. Gabriel's assistant. I hesitated, but picked up. No need to fall out with everyone because of Gabriel. His assistant, Mr. Su, was in his 30s, efficient, rule-bound. Even phone calls were strictly business. "You're 15 minutes late. Secretary Sunday." So formal, so robotic. My position had been something I begged for. Secretary in name, but basically a flower vase. All I ever did was make Gabriel coffee, and order his late-night takeouts. No documents, no meetings, no real work. So I didn't even need to do a handover to quit. 2 years. I was never acknowledged. He showed up at galas with all kinds of women. Never me. "Sorry, Mr. Su," I replied politely. I told President Zhao I quit. Right after I said it, I heard a crisp crack on the other end. Something breaking. Pretty sure it was that Disneyland couple mug I brought back for Gabriel and placed on his desk. He never used it. Whatever. Let it shatter. Chapter 7. After a good nap, my curls had loosened quite a bit. I stood in front of the mirror trying to fix it for a while. Eventually, I decided might as well go to the salon. Get a proper perm. Maybe even a new color. I did a quick tidy up, grabbed my bag, and stepped out. Sea City was such a beautiful place. Like spring all year round. Blooming flowers everywhere. Even in the sweltering heat of July, the breeze carried a faint coolness. I picked a random salon by the roadside that looked decent enough. As I opened the door, a guy in a beige salon apron stood up from a bar stool near the counter and greeted me with a polite bow. "Welcome." When he straightened up and his eyes met mine, his soft, boyish face showed a flicker of surprise. "Wow, what a coincidence. We meet again." I waved and smiled at him. He nodded back shyly, a light flush spreading across his cheeks, like peach blossoms blooming in spring. Ridiculously charming. Turns out he was just a receptionist. Once I told him I wanted a perm, he immediately called over a slightly older stylist to take care of me. I flipped through the dye chart and chose a silver gray shade. The whole process, perm and dye, took more than 3 hours. But the result was worth it. Once I was done, I looked around, wanting to say goodbye to the pretty boy with the baby cheeks. After all, bumping into someone 2 days in a row in 2 totally different places, that had to mean something, right? But I didn't see him, so I let it go. He was probably just a passerby in my life. Chapter 8. That was my plan, until I ran into him again a few days later. Summers in Sea City are full of sudden rainstorms, usually coming without the slightest warning, which is why I rarely go out alone at night. If Alice hadn't called me in tears, I wouldn't be huddled under this overpass right now. Shivering in fear, I curled up tightly, clutching my now-dead phone, repeating to myself again and again, "It's okay, it's okay." But every time thunder roared, I'd instinctively duck my head, squeezing my eyes shut. Visions of red blood flooding my mind, and the memory of me, pathetically begging Gabriel over and over again. He knew thunderstorms terrified me, and still, that night, he left me alone in the dark. I don't know if everyone, when truly scared, secretly hopes for anyone, to show up. At that moment, I would have even been grateful if it was Gabriel. I know how pitiful that sounds, but I was really scared. Maybe the heavens took pity on me. Maybe someone up there heard my wish. Someone did show up, but it wasn't Gabriel. He came through the rain, carrying bags on both shoulders, completely drenched, looking every bit like a stray dog. I slowly lowered my arms, looked at him and asked softly, "You don't have a home either?" He froze, then finally muttered a quiet yeah. I patted the empty spot beside me, inviting him to sit, and he did, obediently. It was still August, high summer, but the wetness of his clothes made me shiver. He must have noticed, because he shifted away from me, quietly, having someone beside me to talk to. The fear wasn't quite so bad. "What's your name?" I tilted my head and asked. He was still stiff, head low, but his voice was clear. "Elias. Elias. Emma." Even our names felt meant to be. "Did your parents not want you either?" I asked again. His head sank even lower, and his voice grew hoarse. "I don't know. I grew up in an orphanage. Maybe it was the mood. Maybe I just really wanted a family. Before I knew it." The words slipped out. "Then let me give you one. Let me give you a home, and you give me one too." Chapter 9. We sat under the overpass for a long time, talked for just as long. He told me his name was Elias. The director of the orphanage found him in a snow-covered field, so they gave him a surname that sounded like snow in Mandarin. He also told me he moved out of the orphanage after his 18th birthday. Tonight, his landlord raised the rent without warning. When he tried to reason with them, they kicked him out. I asked, "You work so many jobs, can't be that you can't afford it?" "I got accepted to Capital University," he replied, eyes sparkling, full of hope and dreams. "I was working summer jobs to pay tuition." "How much?" "I'll cover it." I said it casually. I've never lacked money. What I lack is love. I really lack it. If I didn't, I wouldn't have spent years simping for Gabriel. But Elias shook his head. "No need. It's not that expensive. I've saved enough." He bit his lower lip, hesitated, then asked quietly, "So, are we family now? Like, the kind of family that won't ever leave each other?" His dark eyes were full of cautious hope. I nodded. "Yes. No one's leaving." When I was 14, my mom jumped from a balcony in front of me and my dad. She couldn't take it anymore. Not after the mistress he kept outside was suddenly brought home. From that day on, I no longer had a home. I thought Gabriel, the boy who dragged me out of that dark room into the sunlight, would be that home. That's why I did everything for him, obeyed him, lowered myself. Didn't matter what people called me. All I wanted was a place to belong. But by 24, Gabriel left me too. Luckily, I found a kid who's 18. Now, I finally have a home. Chapter 10. Once the rain stopped, we went back to the apartment together. Alice was waiting at the door, no idea how long she'd been there. The moment she saw me, she threw herself into my arms and started bawling. "I'm so sorry, Emma. I didn't know it would rain like that. I didn't mean to. I couldn't find you anywhere." I patted her back gently, coaxing her softly. "Hey, I'm back now, aren't I? Stop crying." She sniffled, but kept crying. "You must have been terrified out there all alone." "It's all my fault, honestly. I was scared at first, but then I met Elias. Thinking of him, I quickly stepped back from Alice, pointed behind me at the shy boy, and introduced them. This is Elias, my little brother, and Alice, my best girl. Alice wiped her tears with the back of her hand, confused. When did you get a brother? Why didn't I know? She squinted. Wait, isn't he the waiter from the bar that took our order? I nodded. Yup, from now on, it's just the two of us sisters against the world. Alice's delicate features twisted in disbelief. After a long pause, she tugged on my sleeve and asked hesitantly, Emma, are you really done with my brother? Not done. I just can't afford to want him anymore. Chapter 11. Since that night at the bar, I hadn't seen Gabriel again. Alice did mention him once, though, said her brother was on a business trip out of town. Probably wouldn't be back for at least 10 days or half a month. So when I woke up in the middle of the night to get some water, and caught sight of a tall figure leaning against the street lamp outside, smoking, for a second, I thought I was hallucinating, or maybe, sleepwalking. When I fully woke the next morning, I picked up my phone and texted Alice, "Did your brother come back?" After 10 minutes or so, she sent me 2 voice messages. "Nope. Still in H City, Emma. I didn't even tell you how awful he was yesterday. I couldn't find you and got so worried. So I called him to tell him, and all he said was amen, then hung up on me. Seriously, what is wrong with him?" So it really had been a mistake. Figures. Gabriel, a full-on workaholic, wouldn't possibly ditch his precious job just to come back for me, let alone stand outside my apartment. I let out a soft, bitter laugh, ashamed of the silly fantasy I'd let myself entertain. Even for a moment. Chapter 12. After washing up, I walked into the living room, and immediately noticed the breakfast laid out on the table. Plain millet porridge, 2 light side dishes, and in the center of the table, a vase of lilies, still dewy with morning moisture. For the first time, this cold apartment felt lived in. Tucked under the plate was a folded note. The handwriting was neat and clean. "Sister, I'm off to work. If the porridge on the table's gone cold, don't drink it. There's still warm stuff in the pot. Just leave the dishes in the sink. I'll wash them when I get back." Thoughtful, and way too well behaved. The side dishes were delicious. The porridge perfectly soft and smooth. I had another bowl. After I finished, I dutifully placed the dishes in the sink. Soaked them in water. No, I didn't wash them. Not because I was lazy, but because I didn't know how. After all, a qualified spoiled heiress should know how to spend, not scrub, and a responsible older sister should know how to pamper her little brother. Having done my part, I decided to go out and do what I do best. Spend some money. Time to buy Elias some decent clothes. Old man's son may be a terrible father, but when it came to money, he never held back. In a family with a reputation to uphold, even an illegitimate daughter can't be allowed to walk around looking like a refugee. Chapter 13. During my years as Gabriel's simp, I bought him clothes all the time, so shopping for men's fashion came second nature. I hit a few of my usual high-end stops. Had everything that looked suitable for Elias wrapped up and bagged. 2 hours later, just as I was loading the bags into the back of the Range Rover, my phone buzzed. Gabriel had just transferred 500,000 yuan to my card. I pulled up his number and sent him a row of question marks. A moment later, he replied, "Angelo said he saw you at Brioni buying clothes for me." I must have been too focused on shopping to notice Angelo was even there. I sent the money right back. "Yeah, I bought stuff, but not for you." Gabriel didn't reply. I didn't care. Then I remembered Elias didn't even have a phone. So I circled back to the Huawei flagship store and bought him the newest model. The salon didn't close at noon, so I had to wait until evening to give everything to Elias. I nudged him to go try on the new clothes. He blushed again, his hands tugging nervously at the hem of his shirt. "Sister, please stop buying me stuff. I have enough." I flicked his smooth forehead and laughed. "This is called investment. You're paying it back later. You better make tons of money and take care of me. Got it?" His lips curved into a soft smile. Those warm brown eyes lit up like stars. "Okay," he said. So clear, so sure, but I didn't really want him to pay it back. I only said that so he wouldn't feel burdened. Maybe it's just how people who've been cold too long act. You get one drop of warmth, and you want to return a flood. But what I forgot back then was that someone raised in an orphanage like Elias craved warmth even more than I did. Chapter 14. 5 days later, Gabriel came back. Alice asked if I wanted to go to the airport with her. I didn't even think. Nope, I'm spending the day with my brother. Elias had a rare day off, and I'd promised to take him to the amusement park. We rode roller coasters, swung on giant pendulums. It was the first time I saw him laugh like that. Completely, joyfully, freely. It made me happy, too, no matter how mature he acted. He was still just a kid, barely a legal adult, at the highest point of the Ferris wheel. He looked out at the distant mountains and rivers and said, "Sister, one day I'm going to earn so much money that I'll give you a home everyone envies." The way he said it, he might as well have declared, "This is the kingdom I built for you." We didn't stop until the sun was setting. We walked home in the glow of twilight. On the way, we passed the market and stopped to buy groceries. Elias walked ahead carrying the bags. I followed behind, stepping on his shadow. "What are you doing?" He looked back, cheeks slightly puffed, glowing with youth. I clutched the straps of my backpack and grinned. "Stepping on your shadow so you can't run away." His face flushed a bright red. Bathed in the golden orange light, he licked his lips lightly. His eyes on me, gaze warm, intense. "I won't run," he said. Chapter 15. Downstairs. Gabriel was leaning against his car door. Exhausted, travel-worn, the moment he saw Elias walking beside me. His rarely relaxed brows furrowed again. He straightened up, nodded toward Elias with his chin, and asked, "Aren't you going to introduce me?" Fine. If he wanted an introduction, he'd get one. I reached out and affectionately pulled Elias closer. "My younger brother, Elias Yi, Alice's brother." Gabriel clearly didn't like that answer. A shadow passed over his handsome, defined face. "Since when do you have a brother? Why didn't I know?" No wonder. Alice had said the exact same thing. Truly siblings, down to the line. I didn't feel like dealing with him. I tugged Elias' arm, ready to head home, but we hadn't made it 2 steps before Gabriel grabbed my wrist. "I need to talk to you." I stopped, turned back, gave him a look. "Go on." He cleared his throat, voice a little softer. I came to pick up those clothes you bought for me the other day." At that, I felt Elias tense beside me, the muscles in his arm tightening. I squeezed his wrist gently, to reassure him. Looking up at Gabriel, I replied calmly, "I already told you, they weren't for you." He didn't believe me, struggled to hide his annoyance. "Emma, stop it. Don't be childish." There it was again. "Emma, don't act out. Emma, be good." I was so sick of hearing those words. I looked him right in the eyes and said, clearly, slowly, seriously, "I don't like you anymore." Chapter 16. Gabriel stood there for a long time before finally leaving. From upstairs, I watched his tall figure. Alone, under the darkening sky, Elias stood quietly at the floor-to-ceiling window, watching just as long, his delicate features hidden in the approaching night. Eventually, he turned to me and asked, "Was that your boyfriend?" It took me a moment to realize who he meant. No, just a man I'd simped over for 10 years. But I didn't say that part aloud. Simped for a decade. And not even a title to show for it. Honestly, it was pathetic. Later that night, I received a rare phone call from my long-absent father. "Old son," as expected. No greetings, no pleasantries. Straight to the point. "Where the hell did this brother of yours come from?" When I explained that Elias was an orphan I'd taken in, he exploded. "You reject your real family, and then you bring home some stray bastard?" Grinding my teeth, I fired back. "My mom only gave birth to me. What real brother are you talking about? And Elias isn't a stray. He's my family." I hung up while he was still yelling. The year after my mother passed, his mistress, pregnant and smug, marched into our house with her belly high. I couldn't stand the sight. So I moved out. Old son had plenty of houses anyway. It's just, my mother died too quietly, too uselessly. She made room for people who never deserved it. What a waste. Chapter 17. Life as a jobless bum quickly became boring. So I begged Elias to take me to work with him. He rejected me on the spot, without even blinking. I asked why. He frowned seriously, his handsome face unusually stern. "Sister, you're too pretty. People will stare at you." Ugh, what a sugary line. And yet, my heart fluttered. Completely worked. That same night, I got a call from Angelo. "Emma, Gabriel's drunk. Can you come pick him up?" I was just about to say no, when he added, "We're at Blue Ocean, Ting Fong Lounge." Blue Ocean, that was the bar where Elias worked. My right eyelid twitched. Bad sign. Something didn't feel right. I tossed on a coat and drove straight there, after tossing the keys to the valet. I stepped inside just as a waiter walked by with a tray. I stopped him. "Where's Elias?" He answered respectfully, "I believe a guest in Ting Fong Lounge requested him." Blue Ocean's top VIP rooms were named Fong, Hua, Shui, Yu, Wind, Flower, Snow, and Moon. Ting Fong, listening to the wind, was one of them. Just as I feared, inside the room, Gabriel sat on the couch, eyes glazed over. Elias was standing nearby, holding an opened bottle of Louis XIII. When he saw me, his eyes dimmed. "Sister." I took the bottle from him, set it down, grabbed his hand, and turned to leave. We'd barely taken 2 steps, when a glass bottle crashed to the floor behind us, and then came Gabriel's voice, cold and sharp like a blade. "Is it because of him?" I froze. The last time he sounded like that was when I was 18. Alice and I had gone out that night, and on our way home, we were harassed by 2 thugs. I helped Alice escape. Minutes later, just as the thugs were ripping at my clothes, Alice came back with Gabriel. That night was the only time I'd ever seen Gabriel truly enraged, eyes bloodshot. He charged in with a metal bat and beat them senseless. If Alice and I hadn't held him back, he would have killed them. In the end, one of the thugs lost a leg. The matter was settled quietly, thanks to money from both our families. But now, years later, how could I forget? Gabriel was never gentle, never someone you could reason with. Chapter 18. I pulled Elias behind me, turned around, and locked eyes with Gabriel. "No, whatever this is, it's none of your business." Gabriel stood up, voice cold, as he stepped toward us. "He's wearing Brioni's latest summer collection, isn't he?" Step by step, his voice lowered. "Emma, why can't you just behave?" His breath hit my face, hot, reeking of alcohol. Behind me, Elias pulled us apart, switching our positions with a quiet force. His muscles were tight, those bright peach blossom eyes staring Gabriel down, like a little wolf cub ready to bare his fangs. Gabriel's temper, as Alice would say, was always domineering and autocratic. The only way to deal with him was to stroke him the right way. I gestured for Angelo to take Elias out. Angelo, as always, picked up on the cue, probably worried things would escalate. He reached for Elias' arm, pulling. "Come on, little bro, let's not be third wheels here. Give your sister and her future husband a moment." But Elias refused to move, no matter how much Angelo tugged. He stood rooted to the spot, voice sharp. "He's not my brother-in-law." I gently patted Elias's tense back, softening my voice. "Go with Angelo. I'm fine." Elias would never disobey me, though clearly reluctant. He followed Angelo out, looking back 3 times before reaching the door. Just before leaving, he turned and said, "Sis, I'll be right outside. If anything happens, just shout." Real concern, pure and unfiltered, warmed me from the inside out. Once the door closed, Gabriel grabbed my chin, forcing me to meet his eyes. "Emma, don't look at anyone else. I can't take it." His voice was low, rough, almost pitiful. Then he buried his head in my shoulder. His breath came hot and damp against my neck, sending shivers through me. I gave him a light push. "You're drunk. I'll take you home." But he wouldn't budge. Instead, he pulled me into his arms. "I'm not drunk," he murmured. "Emma, I really do like you." Had this been 2 weeks ago, before the storm, before he deleted me without a word, I would have been over the moon. But now, those words meant nothing. Too little, too late. Even deep feelings, when delayed, become worthless. I let him hold me. Tears welled up, unrelated to love. It was grief. Grief for the girl who spent 10 years chasing a man who never once gave her clarity. Grief for the girl left alone during a thunderstorm, begging in the dark. The tears spilled, warm and endless, soaking through Gabriel's shirt. He stepped back, cupped my face. Why are you crying? I bit my lip, choking back sobs. Gabriel, even healed wounds still remember the pain. What about the ones still bleeding? You say you like me, if you really did. How could you delete me that night? How could you leave me to beg like that, knowing how scared I was? Gabriel lowered his head, kissed my tears, as his lips neared mine again. I shoved him away, and ran. Once, I would have died for his kiss. Now, I couldn't stand it. I've never been the kind of person who forgets the pain just because the wound closes. Never. Chapter 19. Just as I expected, Elias was waiting at the door. His handsome face was filled with undisguised worry. When he saw me come out crying, he panicked and immediately started wiping my tears. His voice was sharp with urgency. What happened? Did he hurt you? I'll go talk to him. He turned to head toward the room. I pulled him back, shaking my head with a trembling breath. Elias, I want to go home. Never mind whether he could actually take Gabriel in a fight. Gabriel had become ruthless in the business world. Even old man's son gave way to him sometimes. How could I let Elias throw himself against a wall for me? Elias looked down at me, under the soft light. His eyes sparkled, full of pain and heartache. His voice was hoarse. And in that moment, he suddenly felt like he'd grown up. Okay, let's go home. We asked the manager to let him off early, given my identity. There was no pushback. On the way home, Elias stared out the window, watching the street roll by. The warm yellow of the streetlights made the flush at the corners of his eyes even more vivid. I gently patted his tightly clenched fist. My nose was still stuffy as I tried to comfort him. I'm okay. But he didn't move, just whispered, voice shaking. One day, I'll be strong enough to protect you, sister. Just wait for me. What a kid. Still hadn't learned how to hide emotions. I nodded. I'll wait. The tears I thought had stopped welled up again. So this is what it feels like to be protected. Chapter 20. Gabriel went insane, calling me, texting nonstop. I was so annoyed. I blocked him on everything, back when I was chasing after him. He treated me like air. Now that I finally gave up, he suddenly realized he cared. 10 years didn't wake him up, but the moment I left did. How convenient. I chalked it up to a drunken tantrum. Sure enough, the next morning, he went completely quiet again. 2 days later, I was still lying around doing nothing. And Elias? He quit his job. He came home carrying groceries, just as I stood on a bathroom scale in my pajamas, pinching the squishy fat around my waist, absolutely defeated. Awake already? He placed the groceries on the table, a faint smile tugging at his lips. His eyes looked almost doting. I rubbed my eyes. Must have still been half asleep. He walked up beside me, glanced down at the number on the scale, and read it aloud, softly. 52.8? I dropped the eye rubbing immediately, jumped up on tiptoe and slapped my hands over his eyes. Don't look! But I lost balance, fell right into his arms. He smelled like bergamot, my favorite scent. I instinctively hugged his waist. He, reflexively, held me tight. My cheek was pressed against his chest. His heartbeat was wild, fast, thudding into my ears until mine skipped to match. My face was burning. I struggled to pull away, but his arms only tightened. His voice low and a little hoarse. Don't move, sister. And just like that, it was like someone flipped a switch. I went still. I let him hold me, but the air was getting too charged. So I asked, why are you home so early? It wasn't even noon. He should have still been at the salon. After a few seconds, he slowly let me go. I quit. Let's go on a trip together, sister. Chapter 21. Traveling is great. At least I won't have to eat his cooking for a while. Can you imagine? Not even a month, and I gained over 10 full pounds. Do you know how much 10 pounds is? That's a whole extra Emma. But really, that little guy's cooking is just too good. Sea City is one of the country's top tourist destinations, receiving tens of thousands of visitors every single day. The Zhao family made their fortune in the tourism industry, then expanded into hotels, restaurants, real estate, construction, you name it. But travel, really, is just going from the city you're tired of to someone else's city they're tired of. Sea City doesn't have the sea, neither does the entire province of A. Elias told me he wanted to see the real sea and sky, so we picked another city, one by the coast, just as famous as Sea City, L City, spontaneous. As always, that afternoon, we started making plans, packing our bags. When I was about to book the tickets, Elias stopped me. Sis, let me. His face flushed red, but his tone was firm. Ah, the pride of a man. I get it. I handed him my ID and watched him take a seat beside me, fingers tapping away with exaggerated seriousness, but the grin at the corner of his mouth was impossible to hide. God, such a child. Chapter 22. For this trip, I got up especially early. I put on a flowy bohemian-style dress, tied my hair back loosely with a matching headband. Elias wore a casual outfit, perfectly complementing mine. I pinched his soft cheek with a smirk. My little brother is really handsome. He blushed again, lowered his head and smiled shyly. And my sister is very beautiful. His lashes, dark and thick like feathers, cast soft shadows over the light in his eyes. God, this constant blushing of his, it really made my heart itch. He was just too easy to tease. All packed and ready, we stepped out the door, only to run into Gabriel at the entrance. He looked awful, pale, dark circles under his eyes, and his whole body practically vibrating with anger. Where are you going? He asked, his voice hoarse, probably from too many cigarettes. I frowned. Traveling. Gabriel stared at me, then curled his lips into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Emma, I warned you. Would it kill you to behave? Behave. I'd behaved for 10 years. What did it get me? A reputation for being desperate, abandoned in a thunderstorm when I needed him most. Elias stepped between us, wrapped an arm around my shoulder, and led me away. After we'd walked a while, I glanced back. Gabriel still stood there, his gaze fixed on Elias with pure venom. I shivered, instinctively. Are you cold, sister? Elias asked softly, leaning down. I shook my head. Not cold, just afraid. On the way to the airport, I got a text from an unknown number. Don't make me deal with him. I must have gone pale, because Elias leaned over, grabbed a tissue and wiped my forehead. What's wrong? I hurriedly locked the screen, forced a smile. Nothing, just didn't sleep well. Chapter 23. Summers in L City were scorching, so hot. It melted away Elias's excitement the moment he saw the blue sea and sky for the first time. We lasted 2 days. Then the heat drove us west, to City X. Maybe it was distance. Or maybe he just didn't know how. Gabriel didn't make a move. Alice, though, called me a few times. You just brought that kid home like it was nothing. You don't even know where he's from. Emma, what if he's scamming you? Scamming? What would he scam me for? Money? If that were true, fine. Let him scam me. If he could give me a home. Even if his care was all pretend. Even if every smile was fake. I wouldn't mind. As long as there was a home. City X was the opposite of L City, where L burned with summer. City X froze in winter, wrapped in newly bought parkas. We rented a car. Self-driving was the only real way to experience City X. Can you drive? I asked Elias. He shook his head, a little shy. It's fine, I'll teach you. He was quick-witted, learns fast. We started in Sheeping County, drove along the ring road. When we reached Bushuan Lake, it started to snow. We parked by the roadside. Elias grabbed my hand, dragged me out to build a snowman. Halfway through, his head was covered in snow. I reached to brush it off, but he dodged, tilting his head away. His pretty face was buried in a scarf. Expression unreadable, but those peach blossom eyes sparkled. From under the scarf, his voice came muffled. Sister, I read online that if you get caught in the snow together, you'll grow old together too. The light in his eyes pierced something in my chest. A quick, Sharp sting. I wanted that too. Wanted a future where, decades from now, he'd show up with a family. Smile at me. Call me sister. But that future isn't ours. Chapter 24. We wandered slowly. A travel route that should have taken 1 week stretched into over 10 days. By the time we returned to Sea City, it was already the end of August. I contacted Alice and asked her to help me set up a meeting with Gabriel. This time, Gabriel didn't show up right on the dot. When I arrived at the cafe, he was already there, waiting. He wore a tailored silver gray suit. Cool, aloof, and dignified. Maybe I'd looked at Elias for too long, because now, staring at the face that once had me obsessed, all I could feel was, nothing much. Want something to drink? He asked. No, I said bluntly, cutting straight to the point. I just came to tell you, my brother's about to start school. He'll be leaving Sea City for K City in a couple days. After that, I won't contact him again. Gabriel took a sip of coffee. Expression unreadable. And then, he asked. I clutched the fabric of my skirt tightly. Head bowed, hiding the tears gathering in my eyes. Don't touch him. He's just a kid, Emma. He said my name, soft, almost wistful. I thought you knew. I don't like any other man around you but me. Deleting you last time, I thought it'd teach you a lesson. I looked up sharply, biting down in fury. He really brought that up? The night he deleted me without a word? Gabriel, how dare you even mention that? His eyes flickered. If it weren't for you, he was going to blame me. But then, he saw the tears in my eyes, and the harshness melted. His tone softened. I'm sorry. Sorry? What good is that? If I stabbed you, would sorry stop the pain? I stood up. Not a second longer did I want to be near him. Before leaving, I said one last thing, just to be sure. Don't go near my brother. Once he gets to K City, I'll cut him off completely. Chapter 25. I hadn't even known Elias for more than a month, but I couldn't believe just how much I'd come to depend on him. In that 1 month, he would put a fresh bouquet, still wet with morning dew, into the vase every day. He'd cook before work, keep the pot warm so I'd have hot food when I woke up, and when thunder crashed through rainy nights, he'd lean against my door, whispering over and over, I'm here, now, on a deserted road. I parked the car and cried my lungs out. I really thought I could finally have a home. But why? Why is it still impossible? I don't want to let go of Elias. But what do I have to fight against Gabriel? Gabriel had already taken over the Zhao family business years ago. Elias? An orphan, with no money, no power. Gabriel, with all his resources, could end him with the flick of a finger, quietly, effortlessly. And me? I'm just a parasite living off others. I knew clearly, old man son wouldn't go up against Gabriel for my sake. I was afraid, truly afraid. I cried until my throat was raw, the taste of blood faint in my mouth. Before finally stopping, I fixed my makeup with trembling hands, then drove home like nothing had happened. The moment I opened the door, warmth and the smell of food hit me. Elias poked his head out from the kitchen. Sister, you're back. One more dish to go. Wash up, dinner's almost ready. This was the life I longed for. Someone waiting at home. Dinner hot. A smile that says, come eat. But this life, I was about to lose it. Chapter 26. With school starting soon, there was a lot to prepare. I wanted to treat Elias well. Really, really well. I didn't know how. So I just kept buying things. Crazy, endless buying. When I came home yet again, arms full of bags, Elias's pretty face turned pink, then pale, then pink again. Spectacular. Then, he banned me from going out alone, and after several rounds of me sneaking out and him chasing after, his first day of college finally came. I drove him to the airport. In the bustling terminal, I asked for his wallet, under the excuse of checking his ID. Then I sent him to buy water, snapping a photo of his card while he was gone. He came back fast, jogging to my side. A little out of breath. Here, sister, your water. His pale face flushed from the run. Sweat dotting his forehead. Why are you running? Look at you, all sweaty. I scolded gently. He scratched his head and grinned sheepishly. I didn't want you to be thirsty. My grip tightened on the bottle. The plastic crackled. My throat stung. One tear slipped out, then another, and another. Like pearls off a broken string, Elias panicked, trying to wipe them away. But the more he wiped, the faster they fell. Don't cry, sister. He stammered. Couldn't get a word out. Even his beautiful voice was breaking. I tugged on his sleeve, sobbing. I don't want to let you go. He softened. Voice low and gentle. I'll come home the second I'm on break. Please don't cry, okay? I nodded, but that word, okay, I couldn't say it. I'm sorry, Elias. Sister won't be here when you get back. Chapter 27. I watched as he passed through security. Only when his figure finally disappeared did I snap out of it. Dragging my feet, I left the terminal. The weather in Sea City was beautiful. Blue skies, not a cloud in sight. As if painted in ink and water, but I felt suffocated, utterly. From today on, I was alone again. When I returned to the apartment, Gabriel was waiting downstairs. He was the last person I wanted to see. So I walked right past him. Come to a banquet with me tonight, he said behind me. I ignored him, entered the building, and slammed the door shut in his face. That helped ease the tightness in my chest. Just a little. The apartment had 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. I'd chosen it precisely because I lived alone. But now that Elias was gone, it felt empty. Too empty. I curled up on the couch and sat in silence for a long time. As night fell, my familiar ringtone snapped me back to reality. The moment I answered, Elias' voice came through the receiver. Good evening, sis. I cleared my throat. Tried to sound cheerful. Good evening, Elias. What are you doing? Did you eat yet? I just finished unpacking. Tomorrow's the start of military training. He went on, telling me everything, what he did, what he planned to do. I replied every so often, quietly listening, and then a phrase popped into my mind. All is calm in the passage of time. If the doorbell hadn't rung, I think I could have talked to Elias like that forever. Outside the door, Gabriel, in formal wear. 2 stylists with suitcases behind him. Chapter 28. In the end, I went to the banquet with Gabriel, because he said, don't think that just because he's in K City, I can't touch him. He knew Elias had become my weakness. It was the first time in all these years that he brought me to an event like this. I forced a smile, stood by Gabriel's side, listened to him socialize, and numbly accepted my new role, his girlfriend. By the end of it, I was drained. On the way home, the driver raised the divider. Just Gabriel and me. In the back seat, he tucked a loose strand of hair behind my ear. His voice gentle, sweet, like a Valentine's whisper. Tired? I was tired. Tired of this performance. Gabriel, we can't go back. Let it. He pinched my cheeks, cutting me off, leaned in, and kissed me. The taste of red wine burst against my tongue. I shoved him away, raised my arm, and slapped him. Are you insane? My voice trembled. He ran a finger along his lip, then sneered. Insane? Maybe. Didn't you always say you loved me the most in the world? Yes. I used to tell him that, over and over again. All I got in return was that cold face. Later, I transferred the apartment to Elias' name. I couldn't keep living here anyway, at least now. It still felt like home. Then I wrote Elias a message, thanking him for playing a part in my little drama, and calling it his payment. Told him never to contact me again. Told him he wasn't worthy of being my family. The words were cruel, so cruel even I flinched rereading them. I sent it, took a screenshot, blocked Elias. Then, I unblocked Gabriel, and sent him the screenshot. It's done. Keep your word. Leave him alone. I was the one who dragged that innocent boy into the storm, and now I had to be the one to push him out of it, even if it hurt far more than I ever imagined. Chapter 29. Without Elias. Life returned to its usual dull rhythm, shopping with Alice, going to some fake, plastic social gatherings, boring and lifeless. Time passed in a blur. 2 weeks. Then, Elias came back. He blocked me outside one of my favorite luxury stores. In just half a month, he'd lost so much weight. He looked even more worn down than that rainy night when I found him. The light that used to dance in his peach blossom eyes was completely gone. He asked, "Didn't you promise you'd never abandon me?" I turned my head away, afraid that if I looked at him, I'd start crying again. Just killing time. Only someone as poor as you would take it seriously. Elias clenched his fists, his eyes rimmed red. He asked again, voice shaking, "Sister, do you really not want me anymore?" I bit down hard, then spat out, "Do you really think you're worthy?" Next second, a thin bank card landed at my feet. "You're right, I'm not. Take your money, I don't need it." He turned and walked away. No hesitation. I stared at his straight back, then slowly sank to the ground, arms around my knees, crying uncontrollably again. Why does it hurt this much? Chapter 30. After that day, I never saw Elias again. That clean, shy boy, whose eyes used to sparkle like stars, was gone from my life. I joined Old Son's company, learned to negotiate deals, read business plans. I turned from a notorious rich brat into the most promising heiress in Sea City. Alice asked me why I worked so hard. I said, because I never want to feel helpless again, watching someone I love slip away. In business, Gabriel taught me a lot, and to his credit, he kept his word. He never once went after Elias. The name Elias became like the wind, once passed, leaving no trace. No one knew how much I missed him. I learned to cook when I wasn't working late. I'd make myself a couple of dishes on the way to work. I'd buy fresh flowers, still damp with dew, and place them on my office desk. Gabriel teased me, "Since when did you get so poetic?" I said, "Life needs rituals." Maybe that's what Elias thought too, when he used to place flowers in the vase every morning. Chapter 31. Gabriel had asked me to be with him many, many times, and every time I dodged it gracefully. Then one day, after Alice hinted ever so gently that her brother was getting older and should settle down, I got Gabriel drunk and sent him to the bed of a rich heiress who'd had a crush on him for years. Honestly, it's a little embarrassing. Back in the days when I liked Gabriel, I fought with that same girl more than once, all out of jealousy. Now I guess this is my formal apology for being young and stupid, to make sure everything went as planned. I even called both their mothers to come catch them in the act. There Gabriel was, half naked, wrapped in a bedsheet, light scratch marks trailing his torso. His eyes were full of bitterness. As he looked at me, his voice sounded broken, hoarse. "Emma, you're really something else." I smiled, "Right back at you." After all, when he forced me to give up Elias, was he ever kind? Half a month later, I got his engagement invitation. I didn't go. I had an interview scheduled that day. A young reporter pointed the mic at me and asked, "What city would you most like to visit?" Without thinking, I answered, "K City." She asked why. Why? Because that's where my little brother is. That's where my home is. Turns out, somewhere deep down, I had already accepted where Elias is. Home is. I zoned out for a moment. The reporter called out, "MS, son, do you need more time to think?" I laughed it off. "No, I just want to see the heart of our great nation." Some feelings don't need to be said aloud. Missing Elias. That's always been my own little secret. Chapter 32. 6 years since Elias left. I turned 30 and started going on blind dates. Old Son was old now, no longer yelled, but switched to the soft sell tactic. Pitiful sighs, guilty eyes, and me? I'm weak to guilt, not pressure. So I gave in and started attending all his arranged matchmaking events. Truthfully, blind dates are mind-numbing. I stirred my coffee with a lazy grace, as the air of some company droned on about his ideal partner. Then, a chubby little bundle of a child toddled over, latched onto my leg, looked up at me, and called out sweetly, "Mommy," feigning surprise. I scooped her up. "Zach, what are you doing here?" Drool dribbled from her lips as she planted a wet kiss on my cheek. "Missed you." My heart melted. She was so cute. Across from me, the businessman looked petrified. I gave him an apologetic smile. "Sorry, my daughter must have missed me. A friend brought her over. I hope you don't mind." His face darkened instantly. "You already have a kid and you're here dating?" I shrugged. "I'm just trying to find her a discount daddy." Chapter 33. The next day. Because I used connections, old son dragged me to the top floor for a solid scolding. When I passed by the secretary office on the way back, a few young girls were peeking around the door. Cheeks flushed, spirits high. "What are you all staring at?" I asked. Face cold. My personal secretary, Xiao Yu, shuffled over to my side. Face red as a tomato. "Miss Sun, the head of HM just arrived." I gave a short hum. "And where is he now?" Her blush deepened. "In your office, waiting for you." HM had recently become a rising star from K-City. Everyone said the founder had serious backing. And if it's K-City backing, it's never just about money. Anything tied to real power puts them leagues above us ordinary business folk. I straightened my clothes, put on a proper smile, and walked to my office. Sorry for the wait. The moment I opened the door and saw who was sitting behind my desk, my words stopped. Legs crossed, arms resting on the chair, fingers folded in a bridge, no longer soft, no baby fat. His features, sharper, more breathtaking than ever. No wonder the secretaries looked so love-struck. He didn't get up, just smiled politely. "Long time no see." "Yes, long time no see. And God, I missed you." Chapter 34. Elias didn't bother with pleasantries. He told me to gather the team, time for a meeting. He was all business, nothing more. HM was planning to build a massive theme park in C-City. The chosen location? Right next to the little apartment where we used to live. After the meeting, we had to inspect the site. I glanced at my 10-centimeter heels and tight pencil skirt. "I'll go change." He gave me a blank look, voice cold. "Miss Sun, are you asking everyone to wait just for you?" 6 years, long enough to turn my soft-spoken boy into someone untouchably powerful. No more blushing, no more calling me sister, just Miss Sunday. Just cold, distant eyes. A lump rose in my throat, too big to swallow, too painful to ignore. I bowed my head, hiding my face. "Sorry, I wasn't thinking." "Let's go now." The site was still under construction, uneven ground. Every step in those heels was a struggle. Someone accidentally bumped into me. I stumbled and fell toward Elias. He caught me instantly. His hands gripped my waist. Hot, searing. His brows knit tightly. His voice even tighter. "Please behave." "Miss Sunday." I scrambled up. "Sorry." He rubbed his hand once, visibly annoyed. "Forget it. We'll come back another day." Chapter 35. Alice came to find me with Zach in her arms. I was sitting at the table, staring absent-mindedly at the bouquet of fresh flowers. "What's gotten into you? Possessed? Or just love-struck?" I took Zach into my arms, teasing her as I spoke. "Maybe it's just spring coming around again. What brings you here?" "Your goddaughter kept crying to see you." "Oh, by the way, while I was waiting for the elevator, I saw someone who looked exactly like that kid you took in years ago." I sighed softly. "It's him." Alice's pupils dilated. "You brought him back?" "No, he's the CEO of HM now." That clearly shocked Alice to the core. Her expression almost slipped out of control. "Wait, what? Isn't HM's boss someone named Lin?" "Yeah, he goes by Jordan Lin now." Alice hesitated, then asked, "Emma, You must have really resented my brother back then, right? How could I not? If not for him. Maybe Elias and I wouldn't be less than strangers now. But I didn't answer. Just smiled and played with Zach in my arms. She still looked like she wanted to say more. But her phone rang. After taking the call, she rushed off, leaving Zach in my care. I gently scratched Zach's soft little tummy, making her giggle nonstop. I laughed along with her. Zach, wanna keep Godmom company at work today? Zach couldn't quite manage such complex words. Just babbled sweetly. Mama, Mama. Chapter 36. I dug through the mom bag Alice left behind. Made formula for Zach. And just as I handed the bottle into her tiny little hands, Elias knocked and entered. He froze when he saw the little one happily nursing the bottle. I was about to explain, but he spoke first. Get ready. We're going to Starshine Park later. We've been visiting various amusement parks lately. Since the new theme park project began, can we do it another day? I need to watch the baby. My voice faltered. No surprise. Elias' poker face could really shake a person's courage. Still cold. Still unreadable. Bring her along. As we stepped out of the building, a sleek black Maybach waited at the front. Elias rolled down the window. Get in. I assumed there would be a whole team. But no, just the three of us. Sensing my confusion, he steered with ease and said, everyone else is at the construction site. He didn't even glance at me as he spoke. When we arrived, he looked down at my heels, then up at the little one in my arms. Without a word, he reached out and took her gently. A perfect gentleman. Starshine was a children's paradise. Zach was in heaven, maybe because Elias grew up in an orphanage. He knew how to handle kids. Gentle, patient. For the first time since our reunion, his expression softened. Zach adored him immediately. I sat on a bench, heels killing me, watching them from afar. So perfect together. Slides, ball pits, a carousel. Sunlight lit up Elias' side profile. As he smiled, cradling Zach in his arms, I couldn't look away. When I came to, 5, maybe 6 minutes had passed. I flushed, slapped my own cheek. Emma, what are you thinking? He's 6 years younger than you. But I knew. In that moment, I fell. It must be the season. This sunny spring. No wonder my heart wavered in front of such a handsome man. Yes, that soft boy from years ago had grown into a remarkable man. In all the years I wasn't looking. As they came down from the carousel, Zach clapped her hands excitedly. I went to take her, so Elias could rest. But she turned away, wrapped her arms around his neck, and called out loud and clear, Daddy. And just like that, my cheeks caught fire. Chapter 37. I thought that after Starlight ended, things between Elias and I might finally ease up. Turns out, I was thinking too much. He still wore that cold, polite mask. Distant, reserved, frustrated after 2 days. I dragged Alice out to a bar to drink my sorrows away. Alice had her kid, so she couldn't drink. So I drank. A lot. To the point of blackout. The next morning, I woke up on my big pink bed, still confused about how I got home. Just as I was about to text Alice, she beat me to it, sending 2 short videos and 1 line. Girl, you're wild. In the first video, I was holding up a glass, shouting, bring me Elias ye. Now, someone go get him. In the second one, I was swaying and poking his chest. You're just a little brother. You hear me? Elias ye. You're just a baby bro. My voice was so smug and arrogant. I covered my face with my hands. Dear God. I wanted to dig a hole and disappear. Chapter 38. Because of the whole drunk fiasco, I couldn't face Elias. I avoided him at all costs. If I couldn't avoid him, I made sure someone else was there too. Several days passed. We hadn't been alone once. Then came Qingming holiday. Elias went back to K-City, and I realized I missed him a lot. I think I fell for him. Fell for that boy who looked at me so gently. In the sunlight at the amusement park, the last night of the holiday, a huge storm hit. I wasn't afraid of thunder anymore, but I still thought of that night. Of him saying, "As long as I'm here." The next day, he didn't come back to work. I drifted through the morning. Then in the afternoon, his assistant called. "Miss Sun, President Lin has a fever. I'm still in K-City and can't make it back. Could you please go check on him? I'll send you the address." "He's back already?" "Yes, came back last night. I just heard about the fever. Please, can you help?" 20 minutes later, I stood outside the small apartment Elias used to live in. Didn't expect him to still be living here. I rang the bell. No answer. I typed in a familiar code, one I knew by heart. It worked. He was curled up on the sofa, lips dry and cracked. His face flushed unnaturally. I gave him fever meds. He was half conscious, gripping my clothes, murmuring softly, "Don't go, sis." I touched his burning forehead, whispered back, "I won't go. I'm here." As I said it, tears started to fall. Chapter 39. I was in the kitchen, making porridge. When Elias woke up, he leaned against the doorway, tall frame casting a shadow over me. Gaze dark and heavy. "Why are you here? Didn't you already say you don't want me anymore?" I lowered my head, voice small. "I do. I want you." Maybe it was the fever, but his voice came out raspy and broken. "Say it again." "I do. I do. I do." I said, "I want you." I suddenly looked up, shouting through tears, "Emma, you said it. This time, I won't give you the chance to back out again." He gritted the words out, pulled me into his arms, and kissed me. When it ended, I rested against his chest, breathless. I'm way older than you." He kissed me again, a feather-light touch against my lips. "I'm already prepared to be a stepdad. Do you really think I care about age?" "Stepdad? What stepdad?" I blinked. "Didn't you say that? You were looking for a bargain dad for your kid." "Wait, he was at the cafe that day?" I laughed, teasing, "Sure, you can be a bargain dad, but what if the real dad doesn't agree?" His arms tightened around my waist. That smile on his face froze and cracked apart. "Who is it?" Just 3 words. But in his eyes, I saw pure panic. How could I bear to keep teasing him? I tiptoed, kissed him gently, and smiled. "Zach is Alice's baby. She's too young to say godmother, so she just calls me mama." As I spoke, his whole face lit up, ecstatic. "Then let's work hard. Maybe by next year, we can arrange a baby engagement." Gabriel's extra. When did I fall for Emma? Maybe it was when she curled up in a dark corner like a wounded little creature. Maybe even earlier. When did I realize I had fallen for her? It was the moment she was nearly assaulted. That day, seeing her pinned against the wall, her clothes being torn, I genuinely felt the urge to kill. Thankfully, Emma and Alice stopped me just in time before I did something irreversible. After that incident, my grandfather punished me by making me copy the Heart Sutra for a whole month. But more importantly, that was when I realized just how madly possessive I was over Emma. I was afraid that kind of possessiveness would scare her. So I suppressed it as much as I could and treated her with indifference. She was never good at hiding her emotions. I knew she liked me because she would often say, "Gabriel, you're my absolute favorite in the whole world." On the surface, I stayed calm and expressionless. But inside, I was flying with joy. I thought her eyes would only ever see me, and I got used to her always revolving around me. Until one day, I saw her smiling at the manager of our client relations department. She was smiling so brightly, so dazzlingly, it stung my eyes. She always complained about me not taking her to social gatherings. What she didn't know was that I didn't want to see her smiling at other men. So, when I saw that scene, I lost my mind. I deleted all her contact information. Coincidentally, there was a huge storm that night. I knew she was scared of thunder, but I still wanted to punish her, because fear teaches lessons best. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I stared at the ceiling until morning, and the first thing I did at work was accept her friend request again. What I didn't expect was, Not only did she not learn her lesson, she got even more rebellious. We fought. Things ended badly. There was a time-sensitive negotiation in H City, so I flew there the next day. Alice called to tell me it was pouring in City C, thunder crashing non-stop. And somehow, she lost Emma in that storm. I hung up immediately and had my assistant book a flight back. My girl must have been terrified all alone out there. When I arrived back in City C, the rain had stopped. I stood beneath her apartment for a long time. The lights in her small unit were on. Only then did I finally feel relief. That same night, I flew straight back to H City. I came and went in secret. No one except my assistant knew I'd returned. The next day, Angelo sent me a paparazzi shot. She was coming out of Brioni, carrying loads of men's clothing bags. I transferred 500,000 yuan to her. She returned it, saying it wasn't for me. I thought she was still sulking, so I didn't think much of it. I missed her terribly, so I crammed 2 weeks of work into one. The moment I came back, I went straight to see her. What I didn't expect was a good-looking guy at her side. They were laughing and teasing each other as they approached. I panicked a little. She said it was her brother, but there's no way I could have been mistaken. The way that boy looked at her, it was pure, undeniable affection. I never cared if others liked her. My girl is so beautiful and adorable. Of course, many people would fall for her, but this time, I felt a real sense of danger. She used to only buy clothes for me, but now, that brand new Brioni polo shirt was on someone else. I couldn't stand any other man being close to her. She was supposed to depend only on me, so I forced her to cut ties with that boy. As expected, she listened, sweet and naive as ever. I knew how much she cared about him. How could I ever actually hurt someone that important to her? I was terrified that she'd hate me. She started to work harder. I taught her everything I knew, even though I was well aware. She just wanted to grow strong enough, so she would no longer be under my control. In the following years, I asked her out more than once, but she always brushed it off. Eventually, I got Alice to help me, and in return, she set me up to sleep with someone else. I said she was ruthless. She replied, "Takes one to know one." So all these years, she'd been holding a grudge. Fine then, I'll do as she wishes. After all, I love her that much. Elias, extra. I'm an illegitimate child, someone who lives in the shadows. My mother was the mistress of a high-ranking official in K City. Because of my background, I was bullied often at school. When I was 18, I met the light of my life. She was beautiful, so beautiful that I fell for her at first sight. But I knew our worlds were far apart, and I didn't dare cross that line. The third time I saw her, she was sitting under an overpass, looking like an abandoned little puppy, with tearful eyes. She asked me, "Did your mom and dad leave you too?" She looked so heartbreakingly cute. I lied and told her I was an orphan, because I didn't want to see that familiar look of disdain on her beautiful face. Though to be fair, it wasn't entirely a lie. I was a child my mother had secretly given birth to in an attempt to secure her position. But she was foolish. People in that kind of power never allow blemishes like me to exist. Compared to status and power, I was nothing. My mother raised me until I was 13. When she saw that her chances at rising were gone, she latched onto the last of her youth and ran off with some old man. So, I suppose I can be considered an orphan, right? She said she'd give me a home, so I went home with her. She treated me so well, bought me ridiculously expensive clothes. When introducing me, she'd say, "This is my little brother, handsome, isn't he?" What she didn't know was, I never wanted to be her brother, just like she didn't know the fresh, dewy flowers I left for her every morning were my silent love letters. A home, to me, should be a dad, a mom, and a baby. I'd be the dad, she'd be the mom, and later, we'd have a baby, but I didn't dare say it. I wasn't strong enough yet. For now, being by her side, even as a younger brother, was enough for me. But she still abandoned me, even though we'd promised never to leave each other. After military training ended, I took the earliest flight back to Sea City. She had already moved out of our home. I waited outside her favorite shop day and night for 2 days. And finally, She appeared, still so beautiful, but noticeably thinner. She told me I wasn't good enough for her. It hurt to hear, but it was the truth. She was a princess who lived in the clouds, and I, an illegitimate son hidden away in shame. How could I ever be her equal? I studied like crazy, worked like mad to become someone better. Later, I took my academic record and went to see the Lin family matriarch. Who could reject a grandson that could be shown off with pride in every way? Especially considering my father only had one child, me, and that his current legitimate family only had a frail daughter. The Lin matriarch came up with a story about a long-lost child who was kidnapped years ago and finally found his way back home. Just like that, I was officially acknowledged and accepted. She even changed my name to Jordan Lin. Even if the story was full of holes, it didn't matter. My father's political enemies had already either fallen or retired. No one would dig into old scandals anymore. In my 3rd year of college, I started a business. Experience didn't matter. I was smart enough and well-connected, that was enough. I named the company HM. Grandma asked what it stood for. I said home, to commemorate finally having a family. She patted my hand and smiled, calling me a good child. That wasn't a lie either. It really was about home. Just not this one. Going back to the Lin family was just a shortcut, so I could be worthy of standing beside her sooner. I had promised her, one day, I'd be rich, even if she had already left me behind. 2 years after graduation, with wings finally strong enough, I decided it was time to go back for her. The very first day I returned to Sea City, she gave me a gift. She had a child, and she wanted to find the kid a father. It hurt, but I told myself, at least it meant she was single now. I secretly bought a ton of books about parenting and studied them all. Thankfully, it wasn't in vain. Her daughter liked me a lot. I even taught her to call me daddy in secret. I still loved her, just as deeply as I did 6 years ago, but I didn't dare confess. She had abandoned me once. The fear of losing her again was unbearable. I was planning to take it slow, but then, a few days later, her best friend called me, saying she got drunk and kept shouting that she wanted to see me. I immediately ended a company video conference and rushed over. She poked me in the chest over and over, saying I was her little brother. Just like that evening 6 years ago, when she stepped on my shadow. I took her home and took care of her all night. But the next day, she started avoiding me again at work. That familiar fear of being abandoned crept in once more. I racked my brain for ways to fix things, then received a call from my grandmother asking me to come back. At dinner that night, a news alert popped up on my phone. Thunderstorm warning for Sea City. I put down my chopsticks and immediately booked the earliest flight back. She's afraid of thunder. Back then, I didn't have the ability to protect her. But now, I just want to be there for her every time it storms. I sat outside her door all night, soaked through by the rain. The next morning, I was burning up with a fever. I figured this might be a chance. So I had my assistant call her, asking her to come care for me. She came, her eyes full of concern and heartbreak, completely unhidden. She cared for me attentively. The once pampered girl who didn't even know how to wash dishes, actually learned how to make porridge. Watching her bustle around the kitchen, the emptiness I'd carried for so long began to feel full, but it still wasn't enough. I had to push her a little more. I asked her why she came. Didn't she say she didn't want me anymore? She burst into tears, sobbing that she did want me. My heart ached just watching her. I kissed her. She didn't resist. Then she told me I might not get to be a discount dad after all, because the child wasn't hers. Well, all those parenting books weren't wasted after all. Because someday, we'll have a baby of our own, won't we? Emma, this time, please don't leave me again.